الصغار ضميهم برحمة قلبك اجعليهم للحب ثوار مريم بين يديك احملي بنيك الصغار ضميهم برحمة قلبك اجعليهم للحب ثوار طيب جرحى ضعفهم فيكون بالعمق أحرار امسي بحب لابنك عمتهم بالنور والنار نكللك نجمة على كل درب نكرسك حبيبة لكل قلب نكللك نجمة على كل درب نكرسك حبيبة لكل قلب يا ممتلئة نعمة يا ممتلئة نعمة يا ممتلئة نعمة الرب معك مباركة بين النساء مريم مباركة بين النساء.
The Voice of Charity programs are proudly sponsored by
عشو ممكن تحصل بس ب $99. ب $99 فيك تشوف ماي سات ل3 أشهر مع بوكس وكارد، وكمان بتحصل على ماي سات جو مجانا لتحضر على أي جهاز بدك إياه شو ما بدك وأيمتى ما بدك، كلن بس ب $99 بدون ما تشترك، وفيك تكمل أو توقف لما بدك. اتصل هلأ على 1-300-976-481.
Old Time Bakery is proud to announce the release of the first gluten-free Lebanese bread to hit the market, specializing in gluten-free wraps and pizza bases. For more information, please contact Old Time Bakery on 9708 4442 or visit their website on www.oldtimebakery.com.au. The Voice of Charity would like to thank our current sponsors for their ongoing support. And if you would like to become one of our sponsors, please contact the Voice of Charity office on 9625 6111 or email us on voc@voc.org.au.
علمتينا المحبة سمعتينا حدي علمتينا المحبة لا تخافي من هبوب الريح عن حبك ما رح ننسيك لا تخافي من هبوب الريح عن حبك ما رح ننسيك صوتك من صوت المسيح تبقي صوت المحبة. عمانوئيل كلمة نعم اسمعنا لمنك صارت إنجيل الله صار الله معنا يعطينا من جيل لجيل هني بعمانوئيل يعطينا من جيل لجيل جمعت التاريخ كله بنعم صغيرين منها يعبر هاللون علينا نعم كبيرين
من 2000 سنة حلوا عالقليل هالجيل عليك الكل يحلوا صلوا ويغنوا الإنجيل
عبرا يا ابني الرومين غني بعمانوئيل كلمة نعم اسمعنا لمنك صارت إنجيل الله صار الله معنا يعطينا من جيل لجيل غني بعمانوئيل يعطينا من جيل لجيل
And we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this evening's episode of Let's Talk About It by Maronite Down Under. We are very lucky to have a special guest tonight, Father Joseph Maatouk. Father Joseph, welcome.
Thank you.
And before we do get started, I do want to firstly thank our sponsors. We are very, very grateful because this evening we actually have 5 sponsors. And tonight's event and, you know, anything really at the Voice of Charity don't work without these. So I want to say a very special thank you to Charred Chicken, Sarah Chidiac Beauty, ECA Electric, MCA Air Solutions, and finally, like every week, the Christian Mission. Thank you once again. Now, I want to thank also all the people that did send through their questions through Instagram or message me privately throughout the last couple of weeks. I do appreciate it. I know that this conversation is a little bit hard, and I do say it with, you know, the most charity as well. If anyone listening has an issue with us talking about drugs, sex, porn, addiction, clubbing, anyone that isn't up to that maturity level, we do, like I said, with all charity, please ask that you do turn this off right now. Otherwise, stay tuned because it is going to be a very, very deep conversation. We are still open to questions live. We are monitoring Facebook on both Our Lady of Lebanon and Voice of Charity. I am directly on the Voice of Charity Facebook page. So if you do want to put a question through or type any comments in, I will be monitoring that and we can address them. But before further ado, Father Charbel, can you please lead us in prayer?
Sure thing, Paulie. In the name of the Father, Son and Holy Spirit, Amen. We'll pray as we have every week, but especially tonight in this season of Pentecost. We pray that the Lord pours forth His Holy Spirit upon all of us here gathered today, especially all those that are listening, that He may fill our hearts, fill our minds. And we pray that through the power of the Spirit we may be transformed by the grace of God and truly live faithful to His will and His word. And for these intentions we'll pray together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
For the
kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen.
Our Lady of Lebanon,
Pray for us.
Saint Maroon,
Pray for
and
us.
Saint Rita, whose feast we celebrate today, pray
for
for us. Glory be to the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit, now and forever.
Amen. Sorry, Jessy, can you please get someone to turn the aircon on? I can't do that. All right,
Paul's
so
cooking.
it actually just got very hot. Honestly, it's the nerves.
The nerves are
They've
kicking
already
in.
caught up.
Can I just add one thing? You've mentioned about the stuff, that sensitive stuff that we might be speaking about today. Just if there's maybe any parents that are watching with their kids, because I know a few have reached out that they're watching this as a family, maybe just exercise a bit of discretion. That some of the conversations that we have today are probably more appropriate for adults, I suppose.
Sex,
And-
rock and roll.
all the good stuff apparently.
Meant to be good.
Father Joseph.
Yeah.
Father Joe. Can we call you Father Joe?
Whatever comes out.
Last time I spoke to you, you were a deacon.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Alf Mabruk.
Thank you.
That's about as far as my Arabic goes.
God bless you.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, what you do?
Right. So I work for Maronite Care, and the reason why I came down, I'm from Canberra initially. I used to live in Canberra, and I used to work with addiction, mainly substance addiction. I used to work in a rehab, and I spent time in jail working as a drug and alcohol counsellor, and that's basically where, I did some studies and all that. And when the bishop found out that's what I'm doing, he said, "Talhan, I've got a job for you." And that's how we started down here. I basically moved down. Part of my vacation as well to become a priest was to move down here anyway. And I started in 2017, the beginning of 2017, looking after people in addiction. That's how I started at Maronite Care. And then after that, we sort of veered off into couples therapy and a bit of mental health and all that sort of stuff. But my primary care, my niche, is actually addiction. So that's what I've been working with overall. I mean, that's probably 60% of my work is addiction work.
Okay, and are you married? Do you have kids?
Yes, I'm married 39 years, 2 kids and 3 grandchildren, 1 more grandchild on the way. So,
Inshallah.
so I'm an old man.
I feel... What was that?
I said, Allah khalilak yahum.
Thank
I was
you.
going to throw him under the bus. And
Maybe, yeah. What's stopping you? I don't. Who are you?
Father Joe and I have some good lunchtime banter because we work in the same building. What year did you get married, Abuna?
1985.
85, beautiful. Were you born that year, Paul?
1985. I don't think Parramatta won the grand final.
No, we won the following year, 86, the year I was born.
Oh, we did too.
No, we love you, Abuna.
Thank you, Habibi.
I feel like I've only had married priests on here.
Yeah.
Every time.
Is that a bad thing?
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's just awkward sitting in a room with 2 priests and you're the only one that's not married.
We need to talk later.
I'm starting to
You
think
made that
I'm the
joke before
problem.
the
Yeah,
was here as well. Listen, next we'll go out after tonight's talk. We'll go to a club and we'll play Have You Met Paul?
we'll find out after tonight if we can go to a club.
We'll find it out.
I'm not going to ask the question, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm joking. You worked in a prison.
Yeah, in the jail in
So
Canberra.
you worked at the prison. You never went to prison.
Yeah, well, that's my sort of icebreaker with clergy and stuff. I spent 3.5 years in jail and just like working as a drug and alcohol counsellor.
Which
I get their attention.
which prison was that?
AMC.
Is that in Canberra?
Yeah, it's in Canberra. Yeah, it's in
Okay.
Canberra jail. Yeah.
And your whole time when you were discerning to be a priest beforehand, you were
Yeah.
there as well? Or?
No. What happened is the bishop said to me, I have to because I was in Canberra, he ordained me as a subdeacon. He said, it's important to get a job as a chaplain. Be independent financially as well. So I put my hand up to work with people in addiction. And a job came up at the jail, and I thought, bingo, I'm going in. And I started working there with groups at first, and then I became counsellor as well, individual counselling. So I did both.
Did you have any education leading up to
certainly
that?
We were trained to work. You can't work in this industry unless you get a proper training. So we had a government body that trained us, basically. And then I went on and studied counselling at Charles Sturt University. And all my research papers were on addiction and so on. And all my research was based on addiction, yes.
Sorry, Jessy, this aircon's on heat. Can we get it on cool, please? It is, isn't it? I'm not tripping out.
I don't know why you're so nervous about
Can I just add that we had the air
I'm scared they're going to ask me some
come
questions.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Father, I asked the questions here. All right? I haven't been able to get one question right. So,
you're doing well, don't worry.
all right, so you studied counselling and you studied mental health?
Well, we do mental health part of counselling. Like we're not a mental health professional. We basically, and also my studies were pastoral counselling. Like, this is very specific. It's actually pastoral counselling. So I opted for that instead of just doing the other type of counselling. Yeah, we're still evidence based like all the other counselling, but we study pastoral theology. We study things like spiritual direction and all that, the extra stuff for.
So that would have been done through the church?
No. Did it myself. Yeah.
Oh, so you've done it outside? Okay. All right, and that's at the latter end of things in regards to addiction, because we're going to take a step forward and we're going to ask, where does this all begin? So, in your experience, or from what you've studied as well, in regards to partying and the age where most people will be susceptible to drugs and trying out drugs, can we start talking about that before addiction? Because we'll get into addiction a little bit later, but to get an idea of where someone begins, because it's actually a very innocent beginning from what I found.
100%, yeah, for sure. So look, I mean, what I talk about now is not a national sort of survey that's been done. It's actually my work, and I keep some statistics on what I experience at my work, basically. To be clear, that 95% of the people that come for intervention are male. There's only a few that are female, which thank God is a good thing. That female it's an extra problem, extra layer of problem to be on in serious addictions, and the biggest sort of drug that we actually work with in our Lebanese community, that it's an epidemic, is cocaine. That's the biggest and the most dangerous one. And we are a wealthy community, so they can afford that drug. It's a very expensive drug compared to other drugs. It costs a lot of money. So and it's become bit of currency with some sectors as well, bribing each other with cocaine, rewarding each other with cocaine, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, that just comes out quite often. Bucks nights, cocaine, parties, weddings. Just got to hang around the toilet, and you'll see, and you'll hear the sniffing and the people walking out, rubbing their noses. So it is a real problem in our Maronite community. It's actually very, very sad as how far we have gone in this area. Yeah.
All right, when we talk about partying, what are we talking about? Are we talking about your average Lebanese hafle? Are we talking about house parties, clubs?
Well, it could be. It could be anything. I mean, nightclub is the bad scene. It's a tough scene. Private parties in hotel rooms, they seem to be doing a lot of that. They book out a hotel room and 20 guys go up there and have a party, drink Blue Label, invite girls and snort cocaine. It's very, very... It seems to be... it seems to happen quite a lot, yeah.
Okay, and what age do you think do people actually start dabbering?
Well, the minute they can get into nightclubs and go out to parties, that's when they start, which is a problem, yeah. Probably 18, I would guess, 18, 19, and I've had evidence of one young man that tried, something different that was synthetic. I think it was synthetic marijuana, and he had a very bad psychosis out of it. He had to be medicated for the rest of his life because of the severe psychosis he had.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so he had a really bad reaction, mental health reaction, and it really buggered him up, yeah.
And do we know what type of synthetic marijuana that is? Because I know there were different ones you could have got from different states.
Well, I don't know exactly what it is, because I came on the scene after the episode and after he's been medicated, so I was counselling him in that sort of area. But definitely, I am guessing, he said marijuana, but I'm guessing it must have been synthetic to have that serious reaction. that he had. And so that was something that really disturbed me, as far as the actual side effect was. That was pretty extreme, and he probably, from evidences, he's going to spend a big portion of his life on medication. It really buggered him up.
Yes, it's scary to think that at one moment your whole life will change.
One mistake, yeah.
One mistake.
Yeah.
Can I want to just I remember we were speaking once about something, and you mentioned drugs, in particular cocaine, being used almost like a currency. And I remember you shared something with me that absolutely blew my mind, and I had to address it in a homily once at Mass, which was the whole idea that it's not even just party scenes, it's instead of Friday night drinks or the Friday night barbecue on a job site, the Friday afternoon barbecue.
The plate comes out.
And
then they reward each other, basically. Bribe each other, like to get the contract, we'll just slip in a bag, and to actually get paid early. Can you fix that up for us? That sort of stuff. Yeah. And you, when you're working with someone who's coming off a certain substance, you actually look at his environment. You have to change the environment that he's in. He can't stay in the same environment and expect to pull off the sobriety. It doesn't work that way. So I'm saying, the environment, why don't you change your environment and stuff like that? He said, Joe, it's on my work site. We have beers on a Friday afternoon, and we have a plate. It just pulls out and the plate comes out. And what about what about people that you work with? All my cousins are doing it, all on websites. On work sites. So it's a very very important thing that it becomes part of the environment, and it causes mayhem.
So what does someone do in that situation? I mean,
walk away.
Not every one of my friends are, perfect.
Yeah.
And I know I will be in situations, in the next 10 years where I will be at a party, or I will be invited to somewhere, and certain substances will be there, or a certain plant will be smoked. What do we do?
So if you are a person who has gone through recovery and is in sobriety, if you're a person that's come out in sobriety, then we have to work out strategies, having a support network, somebody that will support him and keep him safe all night, for example, if he is at the party.
Before we talk about someone who's now become sober, just the average Joe.
Yeah.
Average Joe.
Joseph.
Father.
Yeah. That's all good.
Just for the average person that hasn't had any for instance,
okay, I see, yeah.
Is it okay? First question: Would it be okay for me to walk away from 100%, my friends
100%
that have or are doing or are experimenting with drugs? Would be the first question that I have.
Okay, as a golden rule, anyone that's passing me any substance is not a friend. He can't be classified as a friend. He might have been a friend, but at that one point, friendship should be over. You cannot have a person that's introducing to drugs and call him a friend. It just doesn't work that way, because for some people, and for a lot of people that try it, it's a lifelong struggle of pain and suffering. And for those around.
Okay. Yeah, just adding on to that, St. Thomas Aquinas' definition of love is to will the good for another as other. And at the heart of every friendship should be love. For us, we say we have that filial love, that love as a friend for all our friends that are in our life. I should be loving them, but where is that love? If I'm leading someone down that path, or if I'm getting someone possibly addicted onto a substance, or leading them down a path where they can get addicted and possibly lose their families, lose their welfare, lose their, everything, then...
Okay. What if this person, let's just say me, just for a sake of, so I'll say, what if I have no intention of using the drug?
You have, sorry?
What if I have no intention of using a drug, right? I'm just...
Sure.
I'm at a party. It's
okay.
my best friend's party, and a couple of bags get brought out.
Yeah. So what happens there is, if I'm 18-year-old and going after my first few parties, okay, I walk into a party like that, I have a couple of drinks, my ability to say no to anything is deteriorating straight away. My processing of consequences is going out the window. Yeah. So this is the start of the problem. Okay. And the thing is, if you look at people that are using cocaine in a party scene, they look muscly, they look good, they got a wad of cash, and you almost want to be that person. Yeah, with that you haven't really thought about process the consequences of cocaine. But these guys look really good. They got a nice car, they got a girl, they got everything. It looks fantastic. And some people, if you look at somebody who's been using heroin, for example, well, you don't want to be that, or ice, you don't want to be that. That doesn't look good. But the people that are using heroin, partying hard, enjoying themselves, that kind of looks attractive. And because you've had a few drinks, the process is getting easier to say yes to it. So this is the stuff that really scares me, is how we get there.
Okay.
And we're talking still about cocaine. We haven't done the big parties.
Just cocaine and smoking pot.
Exactly.
Marijuana for now. Okay. I agree with everything you said.
Right.
But I'm well formed.
You what?
I'm somewhat well formed.
Yeah.
Right. I know the dangers of cocaine.
Yeah.
Would it still be wrong for me just to kick back? And they know where I stand.
Yeah.
Right. As in they know, no, this guy is not. We're never going to offer him. There's no point.
Sure.
They're going to hide it from me.
Good.
But I know what's going on. Right. Would it still be okay for me to be in that environment? I'm only dissecting the question because I get asked this so many times. It's actually very hard for me to answer.
Yeah.
It's not. We know the answer, but the answer's.
Yeah.
I'll let you answer it. But even though I might somewhat know the answer, when I get questioned deeper, I start to buckle.
Yeah. Look, I mean, there's real wisdom in walking away. First of all, a person on who is actually taking, not me, the other person is taking it, they're volatile. They've got this false confidence. And it's a very, very dangerous scene to be a part of. Yeah. Anything could happen. Alcohol and cocaine are a very dangerous combination as well, right? So, in a real sense, I would prefer that the person walks away from that. 8 out of 10 is going to be fine, but there's always that chance. First of all, drugs are illegal. It's actually an illegal substance. You can't have it around you.
I'm gonna.
You got to walk away from that.
I'm gonna bring that up.
Automatically, there's a problem.
Don't worry. There's a loophole. I figured it out.
But this is what really kills me here is with my work, right? If these are drugs, right, and I've got them on me, it's illegal. But if I've got them inside me, I've snorted. It's okay. I have a human right to use. I'm not going to get arrested for being high, but I get arrested for carrying.
So in other words,
this is something I really it puzzles me.
Broken in our legal system.
In other words, if the cops are chasing you, consume everything.
Consume it all. No, don't consume it.
That message is not condoned by Maronite Down Under or any of the Maronite clergy. Get arrested, go to jail, do your time. That's what you
Better
should
yet,
do.
just don't have the drugs with you.
No, I'm kidding.
How's that sound?
This is good drugs in jail too.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. That's another problem.
That's a whole other thing.
What were we just talking about? Because now,
in a sense, the moral obligation. What am I called to do? Like you were asking, if I know I'm not going to use, but what, as Abuna was saying, why would you put yourself in that situation? Like I'm sure many of us have spoken or know of people that were, let's say, out at a nightclub. And they weren't drinking. They were the ones that were the designated driver. They were there, all well-intentioned. But whilst they were there, trouble came their way because someone was high or someone was drunk and someone was, unable to sort of thing. Like I think back when I was 19, I went away on a trip with a group of mates to the Gold Coast, like most of us do when we were younger. And I remember it very vividly because it was the first time I was ever punched in the head. Which was yeah, you're going to laugh. We get to the Gold Coast, we check into our hotel, we go to a little a pub that's there, and we're just, as you are at 19, enjoying a couple of drinks. And like I was never a big drinker at that age. There was a stage where I got a lot worse, but we're sitting down at this club, having a couple of at this pub, not a pub, having a couple of drinks on one of the outside bar areas. And we decided, let's go get something to tea. So as we're getting up, I untuck my chair and I bump into the chair of the guy that's behind. A very gentle tap, like click. And sorry, mate. And I get up and I go, I'm 19 years old. And then all of a sudden, I get clocked in the back of the head by this guy. He was a bit of a tubby, not much of strength in him, so it didn't hurt. But it was a shock to the system that I got hit in the back of the head unexpectedly. Security come, they grab the guy, they throw him out, they check on me, you okay? Do you need medical attention? No, I'm fine. But the reality is, this is a person that's pissed off his head, was triggered by a little tap on the back of his chair.
Yeah.
Ask any of my mates that were there on that day, we still laugh about it to this day. That was one of the funniest things that we'd experienced, because, you know, we're just there casually having fun. As we say, oh, we're just a group of mates, we're going out for a drink or we're going out there, but trouble came our way because someone had too much, you know. So that's the first part of it, like what Abuna was saying, and I know it's Abuna Dress segment, so I don't want to talk too much, but then the flip side of that, we spoke in previous sessions many times, what are our moral obligations towards people? Is it okay for me to just to sit there and watch my brothers and sisters in Christ get wasted, get hammered, and not say anything? Just because I know I'm not going to use, does it make it okay to sit there silently and allow other people to use? What kind of friend does that make me, you know? Yeah, that's all I say on the matter, otherwise...
100%. That volatility is really scary, because once you got substance, anything can happen.
Like get punched in the back of the head.
Absolutely.
That's
his version of the story.
I never told you about the couple of punches he threw back. He had to leave that out. The bishop might be watching.
I've never thrown a punch at anybody. Yet.
Why are you looking at me?
But the next time someone kneels during the words of consecration.
Or double parks in the car park.
Double parks in the car park, that's right. You got it coming out.
Screwdriver's coming out.
That needs context. We'll come back to that another time.
That sounds funny on this way.
Oh man, I have completely lost where we are. I wrote down illegal here, and I know that I found a loophole. Right? You said drugs are firstly illegal. What if they're not? As in, what if I'm prescribed marijuana for glaucoma or any other medical reason?
Look, we can never go, in my work as a counsellor, I could never, ever, ever go against medical advice. Out of the question. I will never, I'm not qualified enough, and these are the experts, I'm not. Okay? Now, there is nothing wrong with drugs turning into medicine. I mean, we can't have operations without opiates, really. Amphetamines are used in medication. One day, you know, they'll have a whole series of things that will help us that comes from opiates. Opiates are used already, but from marijuana, you know. There is nothing wrong with extracting medication out of that, as long as it's approved by the government. There is nothing wrong with that. I will never stand in that way. Yeah?
So the church doesn't teach that that smoking marijuana is intrinsically evil?
Well, we shouldn't use drugs because they alter the way you think, the way you behave. It's part of that drunkenness that St. Paul talks about. We cannot cross that line, because every drug, it's classified as a drug because it alters the mind somehow.
Yeah.
Some are hallucinogens, some are, forgot all the words that I should be using. They have different effects on the brain. Even alcohol is classified as a drug. Why? Because it alters the brain. So all these things are actually drugs.
All right. So if I've been prescribed marijuana, I'm critiquing the question because I've been asked, right? I actually don't know the answer.
Yeah.
If I have been prescribed marijuana, right, and
marijuana or a derivative from marijuana.
I don't think you can prescribe the actual bud.
Can you?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
I was.
Our people
is that
behind
right?
the screen are
behind the scenes. I won't say names yet.
How do you know?
Actually, how do you know? What are you nodding your head for? I mean, seriously, guys. I want to talk to you.
Not faster next time.
Jump on the microphone and say it.
Double dare.
All right. So, if you were to get prescribed the actual bud, the plant, right, where you would have to smoke it.
Yeah.
I know that there are THC oils, there are other extractions you can get from from the plant.
Yep.
But the actual bud itself, you put in a.
So
if it's
we could never self-medicate. We could never self-medicate using drugs, okay? Because you start off with simple things, right? marijuana. Okay. So when you need to get a kick, to be uplifted, use a stimulant. If you want to go to sleep, you use a depressant. You start to self-medicate, you don't know where you end up. Even, the sexual intercourse, you need something for that as well, to look big, instead of working out of the gym, you go and put steroids in your body. Self-medicating is very, very dangerous. You got to keep it as natural as you possibly can. You cannot self-medicate, you just can't.
Yeah, look, on that note, with Abuna's point there, like, let's say, for example, you go to the doctor, you've got a sore throat, you've got a throat infection. More often than not, they prescribe you amoxicillin or something like that. They give you a direction of how many tablets you're supposed to take and when you're supposed to take them. So anything that's prescribed under medical care comes with a particular set of instructions that this is the way the doctor wants you to use this particular medication so that you can get better, and so that so let's take that same logic. If I was to then take the amoxicillin tablets or whatever I'm prescribed and pump 7 of them in one go rather than the prescribed amount, it's going to have a detrimental effect. So apply that, what Abuna is saying, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Abuna, that when we talk about self-medicating, like if you're prescribed something that would normally be considered a harmful drug, follow the prescription and only use it as it's prescribed. And then you're staying within this is self-care rather than self-harm.
But wouldn't it still have the effects of getting you high?
I'm not an expert in that area.
What do you mean?
As in, like, if you're following the prescription.
Yeah, but you can do that. I mean, post-op, they give you Endon, they'll give you something else as a depressant to kill the pain. Yeah, you take it. You have to take it. You got no choice.
I take Valiums on the plane.
You know what I mean? I'm just for it has to be medicated, it has to be controlled. You can't just do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do. Even with Endon and stuff like that, we have a lot of people that come to us with actual addiction to prescribed medication. Then they go to the next level with that, and before you know it, they're popping 6-7 Endons a day just to get through the day and to make them feel normal. So really, it's very, very important that, as Father Charbel said, that we actually follow the instructions and do what the doctors say.
Okay.
Some doctors are a bit overboard with prescribing painkillers, but what do they do? Somebody comes in pain, what do you do for them?
Yeah, I guess you would still have to have a clear conscience, though. I mean, as the individual going there, because I think, I don't know if we all know those doctors, they'll prescribe you kind of whatever you want, but
yeah,
there are doctors out there.
Yeah.
I
know. Do you know when I can prescribe HGH?
Some Psalms.
Yeah, Psalms. Peptides, all of it. Nah.
we can't get into that. Not tonight.
Not tonight.
That tap on the shoulder's coming very soon.
Tomorrow. Turn left instead of right.
That's it.
One of the questions is, if the government has legalized cannabis, right? Is it still a sin?
Look, my way of thinking...
Not medical marijuana, sorry to interrupt you, just as in recreational use.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
They have in America.
Yeah, but America's different, okay. It's not... they have to be careful because there are some 180 sort of different types of plants that they can use. There's a lot of plants. And you can't just grow illegal marijuana... The marijuana that's grown in the backyard, it may have herbicides on it. It may be cultivated too early, too late. I'm not an expert in this area, but it's very, very dangerous. Yeah, I don't think that's possible. You're allowed to grow in some states. A couple of plants that can grow to a certain height and all that sort of for your own personal use. That's what they're allowed for. But where do you stop? Like,
where do you draw the line?
I agree, but
but there are a lot of things that are legal that we would still consider that go against our faith. We have to remember as Christians that when there is that conflict, as much as we're called to be good citizens, when the law of the land is contradicting the law of God, we have to choose the law of God.
Of course, so, personally, yeah.
Yeah, that's for us as Christians. It doesn't mean we're called to be bad citizens by any stretch of the imagination. But all right, the government, let's say tomorrow they legalise recreational use of marijuana. Does that mean it's okay for all of us to go and start smoking weed? Of course not. It's still considered sinful because as Abuna said right at the start, it leads us to that state of drunkenness that that high that takes away from our ability to use our faculties, to reason, to act with faith, to
100%.
do all those things that we're supposed to.
And also, like, from even working in the jail, it's very, very dangerous. Like, the side effects of that, there's violence, there's all sorts of things that's cometh out of using a certain amount of cannabis, for example, for a period of time, and your reaction can be really bad.
I've always looked at cannabis as the lesser evil when it comes to drugs. I know this is probably the worst thing to say to a priest, right? But you know, we're all broken, and my views are wrong in some aspects. But when I look at drugs like ice and cocaine and heroin, and then you look at marijuana, I just feel like it's on two different fields. So
in a way, yes. In a way, yes.
Sometimes, when I have dealt with people that have heavily used the hard drugs, they have somewhat stopped, right? And they would tell me things like, I smoke weed, I smoke bud or whatever, because it helps relax and it helps take the edge off and things like that. So I've looked at that as somewhat, like I said, the lesser evil. I think after this, that's...
So let's just be clear about sobriety in a way. Like, if I come off ice, for example, and I replace it with cannabis or whatever, the problem with that is I'm replacing one high with another. You with me? So all I'm doing is replacing a high with another, and we haven't really stopped my brain chasing the highs altogether, you see? So when I'm using drugs in real terms, I'm actually chasing a high. So the first high that I have from using ice, for example, is extreme. It's just euphoric, and people will just say, wow, I want more of that. And they spend so much of their time chasing that high, Now, if I stop that and I go for another high with another substance, well, I haven't fixed anything. I'm going to go back eventually probably to ice again. It's the whole circle. You have to be totally sober. You have to be able to process consequences. You have to actually, your body has to recover, and your mind, from all the damage that the other stuff has done. And using something else, not really fixing it at all. There's a really good chance, from my experience, I'm not the expert at this, from my experience, you've got to have total sobriety where your brain is not chasing any highs.
All right, we're getting into that after the break when we do get into addictions, but you've definitely changed my mind. I'll say that, just about it being the lesser evil. There's no such thing when it comes to that.
Thing.
Okay.
There's things in the culture like on that. Like, I know some of the American comedians have, like, stand-up comedians have cracked jokes about, drugs are things that you have to.
All you have to do is
cook
just
up in a lab, but marijuana grows that way, so it's just a plant. Like, if
so it's cocaine, so it's opium.
It just doesn't make sense.
I was going to say all I have to do is just watch Friday.
But honestly, that's part of the problem, because a lot of the people that are in our culture, in our community, will watch movies like Friday. We'll see comedians that make light of marijuana use. And some of the best comedians, some of the funniest stand-up comedians, all openly confess it. But the reality is we're not called to go down that path. We're called to see what God is asking of us.
Well, you shouldn't look at America as such, or other countries, but even Lebanon. Or look at some parts of Lebanon. Like, it's just, I just grow in my yard. I'll just go and pick up a bit. It's cultural in Lebanon as well.
Pick up a what?
Bit of weed. They grow it.
Whereabouts is that? No.
I'm not going to say that. Hate mail will arrive tomorrow.
I'm asking for a friend.
I almost got political there for a second. When we go off air, I'll say what I was thinking.
I'll tell you later. I'll draw you a map.
Where it's not recorded. We're joking. I promise you we're joking. Maybe not about picking up weed in the backyard, but that's all right. That's in
it's a fact.
All right, so we've dabbled a little bit on weed, a little bit on cocaine. Let's talk about the environment, right? We first spoke about the party scene, okay? What I know it's difficult, but what would be acceptable, and where would we have to take caution when it comes to partying? So, an example: nightclubs. Nightclubs are different to bars, and at least in my opinion. Please don't change my mind. From what I understand, nightclubs and bars are two different things.
Yeah.
All right. I would assume, this is just an assumption, bars are okay, nightclubs be cautious. And obviously depending on what bar, but
Look, I'm not an expert in this area. I'm 61 years old, and bars are my time, and nightclubs are called discos. So that's how old I am.
Do we have an Afro week?
I used to have an Afro. I'll show you
We'll
later.
give it to Father Sharp. Give him some hair.
Hook us up. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so-
nightclubs, would they be okay?
Look, anywhere, any party scene, what, Lebanese weddings, Bucks nights, it all fits under the same thing. Whoever's going there has got to be very careful. Anybody that offers him something or her something is not a friend. You got to walk away 180 degrees the other direction. The minute something pops up, like pills or a plate with cocaine on it or anything like that, cannot be in that scene at all. You've got to walk away, whether it's a bar, whether it's a nightclub, whether it's a party. It's just the way we should be thinking. The consequences are too dangerous. Wherever it is, it could be anywhere. Could be a building site. I'm still an apprentice on a building site and there's a plate in front of me. You know, it's all the same thing that we've got to actually walk away. We've got to say to ourselves, I'm not putting up with that stuff, and I'm walking away the minute this comes up. Doesn't matter where it is.
So no more Ivy pools. Is that still on? Is Ivy still on?
Yeah, asking two
Oh,
of the
no.
wrong
Well,
people
Chris-
here,
Chris
better
will
than
know.
back there.
Chris-
I've been there.
Yeah.
Did you say you've been there?
I've been there.
I haven't even been there.
When did you go?
Oh, back in around the 2000, I think. Yeah.
And care for more context, or
Well, we drank, but we didn't. We didn't do anything silly.
Yeah.
Danced and all that,
Yeah.
and I think I walked into the mirror. You know, there's a big mirror there, and I was walking into it, and I said to the bloke there, "Oh, sorry about that," and then I realised it was me. But I did apologise.
That's a good
I was good.
Is that a confession? Or?
Can we delete that part?
Oh, man,
Too
I
funny.
think I've been to Ivy pools, I think, once, and I got kicked out.
Yeah. Why are we not surprised? You had to hear the laughter, guys. You wouldn't have heard that at home, but the laughter from behind the screen when Paul said, I got
Yeah.
kicked out. So,
I
look,
haven't been back.
yeah.
That was you.
And knowing our limits is important, but you know, we have to walk away when those things are offered to us. But not everyone is going to be able to say, I'm never going clubbing again. Like, you've got 18, 19, 20-year-olds that they're going to want to go and experience these things, experience what it's like to go to a nightclub, experience what it's like to go partying. But in a sense, that's fine, you know, but making sure you know when to walk away, making sure you know what your limits are. If you're going to have a drink, stay within your limits. Don't get drunk. Stay within your limits.
Know what's around you.
Know what's around you. Know who you're with. Know what's your exit strategy if you know one of your friends is possibly going to go down the line of doing something stupid. How are you going to pull them away? Where are you going to go to before and after? Like, you know, I say, if you're a young person that's going out to a club, you know, on a Saturday night, all right, make sure you swing by your local parish and say a rosary with your mates before you go. Ask Our Lady's protection. You know, pray while you're in the car driving there, so that it is going to be a night where you're not allowing sin and debauchery and temptation and evil to come in. I know it sounds like a little bit counterproductive because you're going to a place where the near occasion of sin is there, but you know, 18, 19, they're going to want to go and experience these things. We can't kid ourselves to say, oh, they're not going to go. But protect yourself spiritually, protect yourself mentally before you go into these areas, you know.
And there's a good hint in what you said. Surround yourself by good, wholesome people.
Mm.
Like, when you do go to a nightclub, make sure you're good mates that are really genuine, that will look out for you and you look out for them, that will keep you from falling and getting it wrong.
What if you're in a situation where one of your friends wants to experiment with drugs, right? Not as in they're using in front of me. Let's say Father Sharps after the show goes, man, after this chat, I've never really tried cocaine. Do you know anyone that has? Right? Probably worst example, but
all the people behind the screen, and you got to pick me.
all right, we'll just say Charbel, my friend Charbel. No one specific.
Say Father
Right.
Charbel, it's all right. He's your friend, we know that.
My has gone red, and he goes red at the top to the bottom. So, no. But what if one of your friends do come up to you, or what if one of them, you know, do start experiencing?
I'll
and
pull them by
dabble
the
with
ear
it?
and take them out, honestly. Because of the work that I do, and I see the toxicity and what happens and the fallout after that, it is horrific. It's a life sentence of pain. It can be a life sentence of pain. Taking them out, I shouldn't say physically, almost physically, so you're saving their life, you're saving them from all those sort of problems, because one mistake
One bad batch.
bad batch as well, bad reaction, anything could happen. You're just suffering for such a long time. Mental health, I'll tell you some horrific stories, even in our community. People that were probably related to, or what's happened to them when they tried this or did that or went to there and had some of that. It's just horrific. Mental health, you just go to mental health and see how many are there. You know, it's just horrific. It's just absolutely pathetic.
It's just not worth it.
It is absolutely not worth it.
Not missing out on much. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Did you want to say anything to that?
Yeah,
Pull
two
you by the
things.
ear, by the way.
Firstly,
It's just-
I haven't tried cocaine for the record, and I never will, and I never want to. Also, because from our work as priests, we see the damage that it does.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're in that situation, your friend is going down that path. You know, having those good conversations that we're called to have as friends. What are you seeking? What are you running from? What pain are you trying to cover up? Open up to me. Tell me what's going on in your life, so that we can, you know, possibly find why they might be seeking this thrill or this apparent thrill that's there, and then trying to lead them back to our Lord, trying to lead them back to a fulfillment and a high that's actually going to sustain them for the entirety of their life, and not possibly destroy their life, but
100%.
taking them down the path where they might be able to form a deeper spiritual connection, you know. So no one, and this might get me in trouble from people in the community, but no one, and I really don't care, but everyone that goes down this path of drug use, of excessive alcohol use, any substance abuse, they're covering up, they're running from something, they're covering up a pain, or they're seeking fulfillment, and it's a fulfillment that they're never going to find, because it's a fulfillment that's outside of Christ, that's outside of his holy love for us, that restores us and makes us whole. So we need to be able to be strong enough with our friends to say what you're looking for, or this isn't going to satisfy or fill that desire. So yeah, that would be the thing that I would say on that.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else on that?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
All right. There is another question before we do cut off to a break. A little bit of a side note, but I can segue into it. All right. I feel that when people are abusing drugs, they seem to gamble. Speaking of gambling, is gambling a sin?
Right. Well, of course it's a sin. And look, just on the first point that people are using, yeah, there's certain habits that go with using, say, for example, cocaine, right? We always look for that. You can go drift into gambling, go to the wrong massage place, prostitutes, whatever. I mean, it's you can actually have a series of side effects of each one. So there's girls, cocaine. That's the pattern. No, pattern is I'll have a couple of beers or a couple of scotches, cocaine, girls, and then I go home and feel miserable. Yeah, even some of them is that sort of thing with gambling, with pornography, with all sorts of things. So there is a side effect. Some people say to me, I never gamble unless I've had cocaine. Yeah, so there is a pattern in a lot of these situations. This is the side effect of trying something like this. You know, you don't know where it's going to end up. You don't know where your life's going to be. You don't know how it's going to affect your future marriage, your future family. You don't know how it's going to affect your mental health and how it's going to ruin things for you. So there's a lot of things that are connected, which are extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous.
Okay. And if there is anyone that is old or young that has dabbled in it, that is listening, it's obviously not the end of the world for them, right? Like, don't. What would you say to them? When I say it's not the end of the world, as in obviously stop what you're doing, but if someone's tried it and they're listening to us talk, they listen to what you've said, and they have that feeling of guilt and shame, you know, what do you have to say?
Come back to Jesus. Like the first thing is come back to the Lord, confession, and I think the success. I mean, we have a pretty good success compared to the national average because we got Jesus. I mean, the sacraments really help the sobriety process. Knowing that I'm forgiven, that I'm loved, that Christ loves me as I am, even in my sinfulness. This is something very, very important. That come back to church, get some help, talk to the priest, get some help, get some counselling. There's a lot of things that can be done, yeah. But always starts with making that decision. I want to fix the problem.
Awesome.
Tonight, it's not about judgment. Our conversation, hopefully, everyone recognises, is not about us throwing stones at people that have dabbled or that are caught in this. You know, we're doing this out of our deep love for everyone in our community, most especially those that are suffering, those that have families that are suffering from this. So, like as Abuna was saying, you know, we're most likely, or all three of us, are going to drive back home from Mount Druitt on the M4. Imagine we jumped on the M4 westbound, going eastbound. What's the first thing you see? That big red sign that says "Wrong way, go back."
Yeah.
Make today's episode, this sign where it's saying "Wrong way, go back," and go back to Jesus.
100%. And I think, like, when people come to me for the first time and they're getting counselling for the first time, we do the assessment, work out where they're going wrong in their life, and have a look at their mental health and a whole lot of things we go through. I always encourage them to go to confession, and that first confession is life-changing for them. It can be extremely life-changing. Doesn't quite fix everything, but it gets them on the right track, the right attitude, that Jesus loves me, that I'm welcomed here, that I'm not a leper anymore, that Jesus even loved lepers and healed them and fixed them and helped them along the way. And so much of the recovery, even if you look at AA, which was probably 80 years ago in America, well, it was Christ-based. Christ has to be part of recovery. There's no two ways about it. The higher power, they call it now because they want to be, politically correct, but you need God. You cannot make it without God.
I think in the break, Jessy, I want to get the 12 steps up, because when you read the 12 steps, I should have probably organised this beforehand.
Yeah, if you can
it is amazing.
I know, I worked with it.
We'll get it to put it up.
Yep, I love it. I love the 12
Thank
steps,
you.
yeah.
We are going to cut off to a quick break.
Yes, please.
But beforehand, we are going to wish a very special friend of mine, Miss Adriana Kazi, a happy 38th birthday. She never wanted me to say the age, but she also made me say happy birthday to her. So I thought everyone viewing should know. Happy birthday, Adriana Kazi.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday.
Then I'll start singing and then everyone's going to have an issue with that. And I also want to thank our sponsors. Chard. I can't do it.
I don't know. Chicken tastes so good, make you want to smack your mama. I'll do it for you.
You did it.
All the Friday references that have to come out today.
Do you know how many I've had?
Yeah,
I've been able to. Ain't that right, Willie?
Yeah, boy.
Chard. I can't do it.
The best charcoal chicken.
A destination for Sydney's juiciest chicken.
The best, by far.
It'll make you want to slap your mama. Head down to one of their two locations in Eastern Creek or St. Clair. That was Chard, CHAR''D. I thought I would just make that clear because that whole slap your mama thing wasn't their idea. That was our idea.
That was us, yeah. Sorry, James, if we affected your business with that.
I sent it to him beforehand. And I said, I might say this, but I said I'm not going to. But then I couldn't help.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't help yourself.
Never.
Friday after next.
Yeah.
I want to also thank Sarah Chidiac Beauty for all your laser hair removal and makeup needs. Contact Sarah on 0410 618 594 0410 618 594. Sarah Chidiac Beauty for laser hair removal and makeup. ECA Electrics for all your electrical needs. Contact Elias on 0498 760 009 for a free quote. MCA Air Solutions for all your air conditioning needs and solutions. Contact Mario on 0410 745 252 for a free quote. And finally, like every week, I want to thank the Christian Mission. The Christian Mission has been a great supporter for this podcast. And don't forget to jump on www.thechristianmission.com.au and use the code word MDU10 to receive 10% off, and all the proceeds do come to the Voice of Charity. So everyone hang tight. We are going to be just a quick 5-minute break.
Mario in here. I mean,
I would love to have Mario on here.
Like, seriously, guys, you've got such a great sponsor, and apparently he's very talented, and we need him right now.
Do you have your flute? We are going to cut off to a quick 5-minute break, and we might see Mario with the flute when we get back. Thank you. God bless. We'll see you soon. Don't go anywhere.
أعطني يا رب قلبك أختار حبك يا قلب يسوع إلهي، أرغب أن أتبعك. قلبك يا رب راحتي وغناي وعذوبتي، اجذبني إليك إلهي، وحدك أنت سعادتي. وجهك يا رب موطني، قلبك يا رب مسكني. هلم ووحدني بك واجعلني أحيا لأجلك. واجعلني أحيا لأجلك. وجهك يا رب موطني، قلبك يا رب مسكني. هلم ووحدني بك واجعلني أحيا لأجلك. وجهك يا رب موطني، قلبك يا رب مسكني. هلم ووحدني بك واجعلني.
من أنا لتدعوني ابنا لك، تفديني بدمك، ترسل لي روحك. من أنا لتدعوني ابنا لك، تفديني بدمك، ترسل لي روحك. جذبتني بحبك العجيب، خلصتني من أهوال اللهيب. آت إليك يا حبيبي، أتبعك سأحمل صليبي. أتبعك أشكرك مكرسا نفسي لك طول الأيام. سيدي أنت هو راعي إن كنت معي فمن علي إن كنت ضعيفا بك صرت قويا إن كنت معي فمن علي سيدي أنت هو راعي إن كنت معي فمن علي إن كنت ضعيفا بك صرت قويا إن كنت معي فمن علي إذا مت معك حييت معك إذا صبرت ملكت معك إلهي مخلصي إلهي مخلصي فيض الأنهار لن يغمرني لهيب النار لن يحرقني لأنك دعوتني ابنا لك جذبتني بحبك العجيب خلصتني من أهوال اللهيب آت إليك يا حبيبي أتبعك سأحمل صليبي أتبعك أشكرك مكرسا نفسي لك طول الأيام جذبتني بحبك آت إليك يا حبيبي أتبعك سأحمل صليبي أتبعك أشكرك مكرسا نفسي لك طول الأيام.
Welcome back, everyone. Sorry, Chris, I can't answer right now. We are live. I want to thank everyone for staying tuned, and it has just been brought to my attention that from behind the scenes, I just want to make it very clear to the both of you. I am not pro-weed, alright? I know I might have been subconsciously trying to find the loophole, but I'm definitely 100% against.
There is no loophole.
I tried.
No.
I tried. It is never okay. All right, and I want to make that very clear.
Absolutely.
Okay, I completely stand with the church's teaching. I can 100%, unequivocally. Is that the right word? I don't know. The biggest word I could possibly think of. 100% stand with the church's teaching. Right, and yeah,
we're proud of you, Paul.
Thanks, Father. But you know, for the sake of understanding, even for myself as well, like there were a few things before, and we spoke about it, where I looked at even just marijuana as the lesser evil is still the wrong way to look at it.
100%.
And I would not have actually changed my view if it wasn't for this sitting. So thank you.
Thanks be to God.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thank God.
We were speaking about what you were doing in the jail was at the start of the podcast, start of the segment. You want to give us a quick refresher, especially for the new viewers as well?
So there was a position, for the company I used to work for, I was working in residential rehabilitation, looking after people in addiction that comes to us and stay around 3 months in a residential rehab. And a position came up in the jail for a counsellor. So straight away I put my hand up. I said, I'd love to go in. And I started my work there doing group counselling, group therapy. And then, and I loved it there, so I put my hand up to do just one-on-one counselling, and I had about 50 clients at one stage, which was really amazing, and it was a great experience. Yeah, did it for about 3.5 years, spent time in the jail.
Okay, and you were dealing a lot with, you said rehab, so people coming off hard substances.
Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, what is an addiction?
Right. Okay. Well, the first thing we got to work out are two words: dependency and addiction.
Okay.
All right. So dependency is, for example, let's go with alcohol, just something people can relate to. Dependency. I need a couple of beers to go to sleep. I feel relaxed, gives me a nice feeling. I go to sleep. I can't go to I can go to sleep, but it won't be as good unless I have a couple of beers. Yeah, that's a kind of dependency on beer, right? Addiction is the next level where, for alcohol, for example, I have to have alcohol, lots of it, regardless of what it does to my life. That becomes an addiction. Yeah. So if I lose my job, I don't care. I need alcohol. You know, if it's affecting my marriage, alcohol comes first. Basically, the ability to process the consequences aren't there anymore, and my life is based around alcohol at the moment. I'm chasing all the time. I'm thinking about what I'm going to buy tomorrow. I'm thinking about this, and I just can't stop. You see, so that's an addiction. Yeah, the addiction basically takes over your life and ruins it, and there's nothing you can do unless you stop using altogether.
So does it start as a dependency and then move to an addiction?
It could, yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people seem to be susceptible to drinking a lot, and eventually they just get it can be very addictive for some people, and they can't stop, and it's habitual as well. You know, we finish work, finish in the factory, go to the pub, have a few beers with my mates, and then go to work, go home after that. Yeah, so that becomes habitual. Because it's habitual, I do it every day. It becomes part of an addiction eventually. Also, it could be a dependency, but overall, it could be either dependency or addiction.
Okay, and is anyone immune from dependency or addiction? And what I mean by that, does anyone have a particular personality trait that stops them from getting addicted?
Look, I think I'm not an expert in that. That's just a really deep question. I work with people that are in addiction. I can't really dabble into that. But there seem to be, like, some people are, can find it easy to get addicted to things, and but we can't use that either in a way because, I've got an addictive personality. Well, we go in and we try to unpack that and get them to stop thinking that I've got an addictive personality, because that's giving me permission to use this or this or this, whatever's available. That's we call it a lie-based belief. I've got an addictive personality, so if I don't drink this, I'm going to do this. Well, no, we don't think that way. We don't want to think that way. We don't label ourselves as someone who's got an addictive personality, because all I'm doing is giving myself permission to be addicted.
I'm never saying that about myself ever again.
Yeah, no, please don't. Please don't.
I won't.
No. This is a lie-based belief. You've got to unpack that. A lie-based belief. Like, I believe in a lie.
All right.
I mean, there might be something there, but in the addiction game, you cannot use that, because that's giving myself permission. Or I'm a junkie, or I'm an alcoholic. We try not to do that, because it's very dangerous for me to think that.
Yeah, I think on the flip side of that as well, like, with the is anyone immune? I think if anyone thinks that they're immune, they're giving themselves like a superhuman characteristic almost, like that. This won't affect me. I think there is sometimes an air of arrogance about that belief in itself, that like I'm that strong, or I'm that mentally headstrong, or my life is that together that I can use and not possibly fall into an addiction. And correct me if I'm wrong, Abuna, but I think we see this a lot in people in our community when they say, I only do it socially, or I only do it recreationally, and I've got it under control, and it'll never happen to me. Well, like I've said plenty of times before in homilies, I think I said it once in this podcast, in the history of drug taking and addiction, no one ever took any substance with the intention of, I want to get addicted to this and ruin my life. It never starts off there.
That was the opening to the first episode of the first show.
Yeah.
Of this
I think
podcast.
so. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
It was right after you did that homily.
Yeah, that's right.
That
Yeah. No one ever starts off that way. So
there's a lot of times, and you're right 100%, and there's pride in that. There's arrogance, which is 100% what you said. And if you look at certain substances like cocaine or cannabis, in a way, that doesn't mean they're addicted straight away. It could be months before the addiction really kick in. So they could be, and I said, look, in the first 6 months, I had it once or twice. It was okay, no big deal. But then later on, they become addicted, and that's also letting your guard down as well.
Yeah.
Not being careful. And I can do this. I'm all right. It doesn't affect me much. I just have it this and that. And okay, fair enough. But then what happens next? That's the problem.
All right. So they have dabbled with it. they have grown a dependency. All right, we're going to focus on drugs first. Now, is an addiction through your lens?
Yeah.
Is it a physical battle or is it a spiritual battle?
It's a mental health situation. It's actually a mental health diagnosis. It's mental health.
Okay. With I was watching, and I'll tell you why I asked this. I was watching something. I can't remember who it was. It was a priest or something on YouTube, and
Yeah.
I'm talking about addiction being a spiritual battle, right? I was hoping that maybe that's wrong. I don't know.
No. Look, first of all, it's mental health, right? Like it's classified as mental health, but it becomes a spiritual battle because I am sinning and I'm struggling to stop. I have to turn to God, and if I turn to God with humility and that, there's a really good chance I might get better slowly. Yeah. So it's very, very important to factor in that it is going to become a spiritual journey. It's going to be a spiritual battle, and we can't blame. I'm going to blame the evil one for this. Well, no. I made the choice. I took it. I became addicted, and the evil one will play with that,
Yeah.
And the thing is, and that's where the spiritual battle begins, but the thing is, it's so important that we realize it is a spiritual battle because I need Jesus to help me through this. I need the Lord. I need with whole humility. And there's scriptural backing to that. There's a lot of stuff in scripture that will actually remind us of that.
Okay. And you've dealt a lot with it. So what do you think the telltale signs are? Like what's the process between I'm trying it out to I've entered rehab?
Okay,
Like,
so the first
what
thing
do we
is,
look for?
Yeah, so there's I think we call it the recovery cycle, where the first thing you've got is a happy user. I'm using it, I'm happy, not hurting anyone. If somebody's getting hurt, bad luck, I'm enjoying it, yeah. And then we've called it a pre-contemplative stage, yeah? So I haven't contemplated recovery yet. I'm saying to myself, I'm okay, why should I try? It's painful coming off it, and it's okay, I'm just going to keep using. And then there's a contemplative stage where I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, what if I stopped? What would that look like? And what sort of things I will go through to recover, So that's a contemplative stage. And then recovery, like rehabilitation. So we move across the spectrum into, well, now it's time for recovery. So we send people to rehabs, to detox centers, to rehabs, to clinics to start the recovery process, and heading into sobriety. Yeah. So a lot of the substances, actually, alcohol is the most dangerous one to come off of the lot. It's you can get pretty sick and die. I mean, it's alcohol is the most dangerous to come off. Yeah. So we always send people to detox and hospital to come off alcohol before they come to us, for rehabilitation. It's very, very important. We never encourage anyone who's coming off alcohol to go cold turkey. It's very dangerous. So there's a process of recovery where hospital, for example, for serious stuff, and then a clinic or residential rehabilitation. And then, so that's that. And then after that, there is a maintenance period that we have to maintain. He has to go to groups. We have to get counselling on a regular basis to maintain sobriety. It just doesn't stop after the rehab. I'm fixed. I'm out of rehab. Well, no, it's not. It's a very dangerous way of thinking. There's got to be a post-rehab processes of counselling groups and things like that to support the sobriety and maintain it and keep it safe. And if you break it, if you go back, you have to go right back to the beginning of a pre-contemplative stage, and then move back into rehabilitation again.
Okay. Jessy, can we get the 12 steps, please? We're going to get this up. I know that we quickly spoke about this. Now, she asked me during the break, does she want to get the Christian version or the secular version? Well, I've opted for the secular version. Sure. And I've said because
this could be turned into a...
It's going to reflect... the Christian version regardless, because you said something earlier, right? And it was, you can't, what was it? You can't get better without God.
You need God to get better.
Yeah.
And the AA program has proved that over the last 80 possibly years, that you need God part of the salvation. Even in rehabs, in the rehab, we still had meetings. We send them to rehab. We had AA, NA, crystal meth, CMA, Gamblers Anonymous. They've all got exactly the same steps, but they work on the different addictions. You have Sexaholics Anonymous, so people go in and actually talk about their addiction to sex and the addiction to pornography and stuff like that. So there's quite a bit of that. The first step is really the most beautiful one out of the lot, is saying, admitting to yourself that you're powerless in addiction. This is the humility that we're talking about, that I can't do it myself. That's the first thing, yeah? The second thing is believing that higher power, they say in whatever form, well, it's Jesus, it's God, can help. We got to admit that. We got to say, look, I'm so powerless, I need God for this.
So even as someone who doesn't believe in God.
Yeah, well, that's why they changed it into higher power.
Yeah.
And I remember once I asked my guys at the rehab, I said to them, look, there's no wrong answer. Tell me what your higher power is. One said his car, one said the harbour bridge, one said himself, one said this, one said that, and a couple said God. There is a God, that's why I'm still alive. So people have their own interpretation. They could say the Prophet Muhammad, and then you can say, Buddha, I don't know. But the thing is, initially it was designed in a way based around the Christian faith.
To say that, okay, yeah, it was. But if you were asking someone what they consider higher power, they're still saying there is something higher out there than themselves.
Because I'm powerless. I have proven to myself that I can't do this. My life has been destructive. It's been terrible. And there's no way I have the power or the ability by myself other than making the decision. I think that's the stronger thing you can do, is make the decision. And it's all about decision making so far. Like deciding to turn control over to the higher power. Deciding that I can't do it because you've decided, admitted you can't do it, you decide to hand it over to God. Yeah? And then taking a personal inventory, actually making an inventory of the damage you've caused, basically, to those around you. It's very, very important. Admitting to the higher power, oneself or another person, all the wrongdoings done, and that's where they stand up and say, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. And that's very powerful. It really is very powerful. It's freeing. It's saying, I have made a mistake, I have buggered things up, and I'm standing in front of all of you brothers and sisters in the same boat that I have made some huge mistakes, and here I am. So that's really beautiful. Being ready to have higher power correct the shortcomings, and that's handing over to God. Handing over to God, say, it's all yours now. Yeah, that beautiful surrender to God. It's very Christian. It's part of our Christian ethos. Is I can't do it, Lord. You have to do it, not me. God, you have to do it because I'm absolutely powerless. So it goes on, asking the higher power to remove any shortcoming. That's also surrendering to God and say, do with me as you choose. Fix me up, mold me, chop away what doesn't work, all that sort of stuff. This is handing over to God, which is absolutely beautiful. It's part of our Christian journey. Like, we have to do it ourselves. Making a list of wrongdoing to others and being willing to make amends for those wrongdoings. And this is really beautiful as well, because they make a list of the person that they've hurt, and they write letters to them and apologizing and saying, look, I'm so sorry I did this to you. It's a dangerous section because they can easily get rejected and get hurt. But it's a very powerful one. It's saying that I want to make amends of what I've done wrong in the past. Am I going too fast, or is it okay?
No, you're working at a very, very good pace.
And then continuing contacting those, so they write letters. We actually used to encourage them to sit down and write letters or get the phone numbers ready and sort of make a list of things they want to say and so on, and then making the step forward in actually going after the people that they've harmed and saying, here I am, this is what I've done wrong, this is how I've hurt you, and I'm really sorry. This is such a beautiful healing process as well. And seeking enlightenment, connection with the higher power via prayer and meditation, and that's moving forward in our spiritual journey. It's really very good. And then the last one is carrying the message of the 12 step to others in need. So it's encouraging. It's like an evangelizing to people who are struggling the same thing, saying, come along here, we've got Jesus, he can help you. Look what it's done to me. Let me help you. Let me mentor you into recovery. So they're all very, very beautiful things to do. The only problem I have with the AA program, and this is sort of the cognitive behavior stuff, is I have to say this, but they brand themselves, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, what does an alcoholic do?
Drink.
Exactly. I'm a junkie. What does a junkie do? I'm an addict. What does an addict do? That's, to me, is it works. It kind of works, but if you're outside the AA, it's not a good thing, because you're already branding yourself like, I'm a criminal in jail. Like we used to have, says, I'm a criminal. That mindset is disastrous, because what does a criminal do when he gets out? He's gonna commit a crime again. He's back in jail. So we have to really unpack that and really reverse it. That's another one of those called lie-based beliefs. That it's. Even the Syriac fathers talk about this. They say I'm not a sinner, I've committed sin. Like they have that attitude of...
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, beautiful.
Go for it, Father. The better way to do it would be to say, like, for example, for me, is I'm Charbel, I state my name, and I was addicted, or I am addicted, and I'm trying to break free. Or
I have an addiction
yeah.
to so-and-so, yeah?
So
it's a much healthier way. Because I have this addiction, one day I'll get rid of it, and it's no longer there.
I can give it away.
It doesn't define me anymore. And that's my problem is, I'm an addict, well, that's defining me, that's branding me, that's colouring me a different lens.
You've made it your identity, essentially, when you claim
and that's
it
the dangerous part. Love 99% of that, but that's one issue with AA that I have, is that branding of self.
Yeah. Like the scriptures even as well, like on this, we talk about the woman caught in adultery. She's not an adulterer. She was a woman that was caught in adultery.
That's
like
right.
It was,
it's a big difference. Like for the brain, it's a different definition.
Our sin never defines us. Our sin isn't our identity.
So hate the sin, love the sinner.
That's it.
But the sin doesn't define the sinner.
And that's the attitude which I have told people in addiction. Like we're really, even though we want to be firm and we want to usher them through the process of recovery, but we still got to love them as our brothers and sisters who are actually unwell. The AA talks about sickness. This is my they call it my disease.
Sorry, you're going to say something?
I was just when Abuna was speaking about and that sense of the call to a higher power. Like it reminded me as you were speaking. One of my favorite books that I've ever read is A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. For those that don't know, Viktor Frankl was a therapist and a clinical psychologist, if I'm not mistaken, who at the time of World War II was sent to Auschwitz, the concentration camps, and obviously as being someone that was trained in that field, he was always observant and took notes and everything. He wrote this book as a reflection from his time in the concentration camp, and one of the things that he found was the people that had given up on life, he referred to it as give-up-itis. When they had given up, they were the ones that would more often die. Like they would stand up to the guards, get themselves killed. They would eat all their weekly food allowance in one meal because that's it. That was it. It was they don't care anymore. But the people that didn't have the give-up-itis were the ones that were people that came from strong faith backgrounds, people that had family waiting for them. They had that higher power, something that they were really looking forward to coming home to after the ordeal of being in the concentration camp. They had that ability and that desire to push further than someone that wasn't that didn't have, I suppose, or had given up on that higher power, if you like. So fantastic book for anyone. I highly recommend it.
And you mentioned on the homily too, God forbid you should read a book again.
100%, Haram, this generation. If I can't watch it, I'm not doing it.
I'm not interested.
That's a whole other can of worms.
I feel like everyone's got issues with these homily times. I feel like everyone's sitting over there.
I was there.
Father Joe can celebrated 7 p.m. Mass with me on Pentecost Sunday, and
I warned him.
Hey, listen, 6 minutes. That's all you get.
Oh, he told you that.
6 minutes.
Didn't you heard Father Eli, St. Paul's homily that went for, 12 hours in Acts of the Apostles?
And how many did he convert?
Plenty.
That's a good answer. So why can't I have an open answer like that? All right, so with those 12 steps to recovery, is that just for AA or is that for our rehab places that we have here as well?
So with rehab places...
Sorry, and just to find, what are the differences between AA and rehab?
So, AA is a program that's designed around total sobriety. You cannot have a little bit. You can have a bit of anything. You just can't. It doesn't work that way. And AA is a program that's designed for recovery as far as groups are concerned, where they believe the group will help each other, will inspire each other, will protect each other. So when you go to AA and you've been there for a while, you can get a sponsor that will actually look after you and coach you into better sobriety. You can call them at different times and so on. Very, very powerful. And people that go to AA, because they consider themselves as, my name is Joe and I'm alcoholic, sobriety continues for a very long time. Okay, it keeps going. You meet once a week or twice a week, whatever. Even good quality start in AA is going 90 meetings in 90 days. Like really has to be intensive for a lot of people to actually get over the first period of recovery, which is the 90 days is the most important period of recovery, where the brain really retrains itself to reach for different highs other than the old highs they used to get in addiction, right? So now residential rehabilitation, there's a few different types. They're called what are they called? Sorry, I could. Therapeutic community, TCs, like the ones I worked in was called therapeutic community. Well, the community itself is the community are the ones that are policing, coaching, and helping each other and mentoring each other towards recovery. So it's called TC, therapeutic community, which is absolutely an amazing, beautiful product altogether. And people at the rehab, I remember, they used to go to AA. We used to take them to meetings every day. Sometimes to AA, sometimes to NA, sometimes to Smart Recovery, which is another group-based sort of recovery system, and we used to just take them everywhere. So you can be a residential rehab and go to different AAs and so on. We should take them daily, basically. It was really, during the week, 6 days a week, we should take them to different AAs and so on, NAs and AAs, that sort of program.
So, to go back to the first question, that those 12 steps that we just had up, were they from the rehab as well, or were they from the AA meetings?
No. They originated in America about 80 years ago. That's where it all started, and it sort of evolved into higher power instead of the Christian ethos. So it's changed over the years, but the basics are exactly the same, and we use those in rehabs as well. Like we actually in the morning we meditate on the big book. They've got a book about recovery, and we actually meditate on that. So it can be used in the rehabs. It can be used outside the rehabs. It doesn't actually mean that that's not part of the rehab, but we can use it in the rehab. It's definitely a good product, a good system.
How I don't even know if there's an answer to this, but how many people percentage-wise do you think actually get clean when it comes to hard drugs?
From residential rehab?
So from
a few years ago when I was working there, it was 90%. Sorry, 9% of people that go to rehab, the graduate from rehab in the first go, 9% actually remain sober. This is a few years ago, and it's isolated where I was. Sorry, that's the national average back then, as I remember, it was 9%. I don't know what it's like now because I'm out of that scene. I'm more into counselling at the moment. But look, I mean, a lot of times, even if they fail after the first time, it's not really a bad thing. It is bad in a way, but it can be turned around. Okay, let's do that again. Now you're familiar with the rehabs. You know it's not that bad. Let's do this again. And what have you learned from the last time you failed? And that could be a way of improving. Some people go 3, 4 times, 5 times to rehabs to basically get it right. And if nothing happens, 90 days of recovery. Well, that's the rehab I used to work at. It was about 3 months. It's actually given their body and their mind a break. It's if there's an underlying issue with mental health, like I'm suffering depression, which I haven't noticed very well because I'm using so much, well, that gives you an opportunity to deal with that, and schizophrenia, all sorts of things,
And how much of someone's environment do you think directly impacts their addiction?
Well, before or after sobriety, what are we talking about now?
Before and after.
Well, I mean, if you grew up in a household where mum and dad are using heroin, well, what's going to happen to you when you're going to eventually use heroin? I mean, if mum and dad are using pot all the time, eventually, but you're just going to have to, you'll end up doing it anyway because this is the norm for you. So environment's very, very important. Even in post-recovery, if you go back to your old environment, well, you haven't got a chance.
There was a TED talk on addiction I watched actually not long ago. And I watched this ages ago, but it refreshed my memory. It was funny because it came up on my YouTube just by Huz, right? And what they did an experiment, and they had a rat inside a cage. Are you smiling? You know it. So they had a rat inside the cage, okay? And what they had is water. So they had 2 canisters of water. One of it was, laced with cocaine, and the other one was plain. And the rat, I mean, every single rat, almost 100%, would drink the cocaine watered only until the point that it'll kill itself. And then someone else comes along and says, well, hang on a second, let's change the environment the rat's in. Let's set up like a big super park for this rat. Let's, give him exercises to do, mazes to run through, and
good company.
Good company. And what they found was almost none of the rats end up drinking from the cocaine water at all.
Even the one that was drinking sort of stopped drinking, Look, there is a lot in that. That's the environment you're talking about. We are very fortunate in our Lebanese community, it's Maronite Lebanese community. That's what I have the experience with. When people come out of jail because of drugs, or people coming out of rehab because of drugs, or whatever it is, they come back home to a loving environment overall. Okay, and that really helps. Well, you know, when I was working in Canberra and people are leaving the rehab and graduating, you have to work out exit plans, and they have to go and live in government house or government flats or halfway homes, and they're laced with dealers and so on. So for us, it's been such a blessing that they do go back to their parents or to their families, and there is a good environment for them, like the rats that you're talking about. Is they do come out to a better place rather than what we've experienced in the other culture. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So environment's very important, especially post rehab.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Addiction, is that reserved only for drugs?
No, you can have
what are the
addiction.
other dangerous things
Well,
that there could be an addiction?
We can have addiction to pride. We can have addiction to people telling us how great we are. You know, we can have addiction to money, to making money, to buying assets. You can have addiction to all sorts of things. Like it's a khalas, I can't think, even if it's ruining my relationship, I've got to go after that. You know, you can have gambling, pornography. What else? Going with the wrong girls. You know, like it's a myriad of addictions. There's a lot of addictions. But what we worked on, what we specialised in, is mainly substance addiction and also some behavioural addictions as well.
What could be behavioural addiction?
Gambling, pornography, distorted behaviours. We don't do many of those, but shopping. People are addicted to shopping. Like it's a serious addiction. Like, but mainly it's substance, and we do help people with pornography as well at times, and gambling. Definitely, we work with gambling. Yeah.
Do you handle it any different when it comes to a substance to when it comes to
the way the
pornography?
brain is working? It's very similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. The brain's chasing highs, and that first high or the second high they get is what they're chasing all the time. It's very similar in all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we have. There's a lot of similarities, and the way the brain is working, there is a great similarity. So we do treat them pretty much. The cognitive behaviour is treated the same way. The way the brain is functioning. But definitely, there's different disciplines, different ways of actually dealing with that later. Later on, if you're addicted to gambling, then we try to get you signed out or blocked from any clubs or pubs around the area and stuff like that.
Yep.
We try to help them through that, and we sort of redirect their finances so their wife is getting it, not the man, sort of thing, just for the protection of the family. So, and also we send them to different clubs, to different different meetings, for example. They need different meetings, and also different psychologists as well. They will actually focus on certain things, and different rehabs, sort of clinics, not rehabs for gambling, so clinics we have to pick the right place for them and so on. So that's basically what we it's treated a bit differently, but the cognitive process is very similar.
All right. Now, going back to substance abuse, right? Let's say there's a family member or a very close friend that's an addict.
Yeah.
To what point are you able to help?
Okay.
Where you're not endorsing.
All right. So
where's that line?
This is the toughest part of my work. Is mum and dad come and say to me, my 20-year-old son is on cocaine. He's addicted. Right? Can you fix him? Well, sorry, I can't. Because he's got to come and say, I've got a problem. I need help. Please help me. When those three ducks line up, then we can start doing some serious work. If he's a happy user and he's not prepared for rehabilitation, it breaks my heart to say to them, I can't help you right now. He's not ready for help. And that breaks my heart because we've got kids. Yeah. It's very, very difficult. So basically that's the toughest part. And what we try to do is equip those around them with some tools. I'm proud of you, I love you. That's the bottom line. But I'm not happy with what you're doing. I'm not happy with your behaviour, not what you're doing, with your behaviour. It means a lot to me if you don't do this because it's hurting me, it's bringing me down. Hold them emotionally responsible for my feelings, yeah? So I'm telling this to my son or to my daughter. It breaks my heart to see my beautiful daughter doing this, or my son. That's sort of their skills to do that, to usher them. We can't force them, we got to usher them, yeah? In the Bible, John's Gospel, Jesus walks up to the paralytic and he says, do you want to be healed? He's paralyzed, and Jesus saying to him, do you want to be healed? And he says, come on, Lord, like seriously, the guy's paralyzed, you should really. But that's such an important point in addiction. Do I want to come out of my paralysis? Most most users right now, at this point in time, are happy users. Yeah, they're happy to use. They're not ready for, until they say, please help me, we can't help them.
So at what point do I, or someone, at what point are we endorsing their behaviour rather than
So what
helping fix it?
If somebody lives in my house and I cook for them, clean for them, do the wash their clothes and iron them, put them on their bed ready to go, the bed is made, well, I am actually empowering them to keep using. They're using under my roof, I'm giving them money, I'm giving them safety, giving them all that sort of stuff, and they just keep using. Well, in a way, I am empowering them to keep using.
So what do?
You have boundaries. You start with a boundary system, yeah? If you do this, these are the consequences. So the difference between you, me, and a person addiction is, all three of us here in this room can process consequences. I don't want to use because these are the consequences to that. I'll lose my job, I'll lose my family, all that sort of stuff. Person addiction can't process consequences, and you got to start introducing them to your consequences. That if you do this, I'm going to be so upset and I'm going to react this way. It's a very important exercise, even between husband and wife. If one partner, husband, is using, there's got to be consequences. We can't keep them, Habibi ya aini ya tu'burni. That doesn't work.
Well,
unfortunately.
That does bring to the next question that I have been asked online, and it is going to, stay on the topic that we're on in regards to endorsing and disciplining, I guess we can say. But addiction in a marriage, right? So there are 3 questions that were sent through, and then you can take your time to answer it.
Yeah.
First question is, how much is a spouse to tolerate?
Yeah.
What does our faith expect us to tolerate with addiction in marriage? And is the spouse expected to stay?
Oofed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
heavy.
Very heavy. Look, I just want to be clear about one thing, right? In a marriage, if the husband is using, let's say, now there's a legal process. There's a really legal problem with that too. If the kids are watching, even the side effects of somebody using in their house, like dad, that's reportable. If somebody tells me that, I'm a mandatory reporter, I've got to report that. You cannot have kids sitting at home when a parent is using substance or affected by substance. It's something that's reportable. It's unacceptable, yeah? So it's up to the other person to keep the children safe. And I don't tell them to leave or to do this or to do that. No, I don't do that because I can't. I tell them to keep themselves safe, whatever that takes, whatever that means. They know their lives, they know what they can do, what they can't do. So the most important thing is to keep the children safe and the partner safe as well. Because it's unacceptable, even as a priest, to know that somebody is being abused because of substance and the kids are watching. This is a horrible situation that's got to be dealt with straight away. It's got to be, something's got to happen. You cannot have that continuing because, first of all, the kids are getting formed in this environment and they're going to think this is okay. And even as a mother too, she's given an example to her daughter that this is okay to put up with this sort of stuff. So it's very dangerous territory.
So the question is, what do they do?
Well, they got to keep themselves safe, whatever that means to them. She knows, like for example, if you're saying the husband is using and the wife is there, she should know what she can do to keep her family safe, because she's got to protect herself first and her children second. She's got to look at options of keeping herself safe. All right, I'm going to be very clear on that. I'm not telling divorce him I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying whatever it takes to keep yourself and your children safe, that's what you've got to do.
Wouldn't say walk away from the marriage, like is the spouse expected to stay? We're not saying that you should divorce your spouse the second that they start showing signs of addiction or the times that they start to use. That's the furthest thing from what we're saying. But ensuring the safety of yourself and if there's children involved, and that's not just safety in terms of physical, that the spiritual, mental, emotional health of the spouse that's not using and the children has to be the number one priority.
100%.
So whatever it takes to protect that safety, protect the innocence of the children, is very important. I would say, let's say the same scenario, if it's the husband that's using, or whoever it is that's using, the spouse that's not using, should do their best to not talk down or degradingly about their spouse that's addicted to the children.
Absolutely,
to make sure that they're not damaging the the relationship between husband and child or mother and child in whatever that regard is. Doing those things is vital to make sure that we're protecting the bonds of marriage in some area, seeking help from counsellors for their own sort of mental health, their own protection.
Talking about that, they're not going to seek help unless there's some boundaries put up and consequences kick in.
Yeah.
Because they think, I'm getting away with it, why
not?
I
was more referring, Abuna, like as I said, the husband is using the wife seeking help for herself to know how to instill those boundaries, how to protect their children. Because a lot of times I say, how do we do this? Well,
absolutely.
Come and speak to someone like Abuna, speak to experts in the area that might help you recognize what are the boundaries you can put up and how you can reinforce those boundaries, because maybe when those boundaries are put up, it might be the wake-up call for the spouse that's using to say, all right, no, how much is the spouse to tolerate? Look, we promise in our marriages that we will love our spouses in sickness and in health, in good times and in bad times, rich or poorer, till death do us part. So we're expected to tolerate a lot. Let's not beat around the bush. But we are not called. But we're not called to tolerate any form of abuse, whether that be verbal, physical, sexual. Any time that line is crossed and our spouse is no longer loving and honouring us in the way that they promised that they would, and they have crossed that boundary into any form of abuse, no matter how minimal it might be, that should not be tolerated. By any stretch, and it's so important that boundary is enforced, so that we can actually then say, well, we can start working on, possibly fixing what's broken in that. Yeah.
So another scenario, like we're talking about keeping safe. If a husband and wife, they've got a home, they're doing okay, and the husband is going gambling, a lot of money, what should the wife do?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like part of that keeping safe.
Open
no, but I'm talking
answer.
About keeping safe. Even their assets,
even
the assets, because you can go broke. Your kids will be on the street. Like it is a very, very horrible situation. So part of that safety, the wife has got to decide how to keep safe, how to keep a home safe, how to keep everything safe for their children's sake and for her sake as well. So this is part of that safety thing that we encourage them to do, but we don't actually specify what they should do because we can get in trouble, right?
Yeah. I mean, we never want to shy away from getting in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we're always in trouble, man. Yeah.
Can we say something that might get us in trouble? But
as long as it doesn't shut the program down.
Yeah, we're very close to that. But now look, I think it's a fine line. When we had Father Eli on the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and he spoke so beautifully. We spoke a little bit about the gender roles and what's the husband supposed to do in marriage and what's the wife supposed to do in marriage. I just want to say, like, to any of our brothers that are watching this, any of our sisters that are watching this, but I'm speaking really specifically to my brothers in the Lord that might be in this scenario. Like, we work so hard to find someone that we truly love and that truly loves us, and we build a life together, we raise family together, we build a home, we welcome children. We go through all this, this beautiful journey to get to the stage of having a family home, and we throw it away for what? For that 5-minute high, that 10-minute high. We get addicted, we destroy, we get addicted to gambling, we lose everything that we build for these short-term thrills. It's not a smart way to go about things. But I would just encourage my brothers that if you are there, like maybe tonight might be the turning point for you to say, Khalas, enough's enough. Like, I'm drawing a line in the sand and saying, I want to be the man that God created and called me to be for my wife, for my children. If you've got young kids and you're still in any form of use, whether it's you think it's recreational, or you think I'm just doing it socially, or I'm just doing it hack the slee with the boys, or it's going to ruin your life, it's going to catch you one day. None of us are invincible, none of us are immune. So make tonight that turning point where we 100%. Say, Khalas, enough,
100%.
Amen. All right. If someone wants help, how are they able to find help? What does the church have to offer? Roman Catholic or Maronite?
Well, I'm not an expert in the Roman Catholic Church. I'll talk about the Maronite Church. We've had this mission. We've had this mission for quite some time. We've had this mission for. I mean, I've been part of it for the last 7 years.
Maronite Care.
Maronite Care. Yeah. We've been looking after a lot of people, especially in addiction. Yeah. And funny enough, we spoke about the wife's role and what should she do. Like, a lot of times, the person that contacts me first for help is the wife, not the husband. Sometimes it's the parents, not the person addiction. Yeah. So the family is always the first point of, well, often, not always, sorry. Often we get the spouse or a brother and sister that come to me and say, can you help my brother? Can you help my sister? Can you help my husband? You know, what can I do to help them? And honestly, you know, like once they start to work together as a family with boundaries and consequences, it sort of gets them to get uncomfortable with their addiction. It can get them very uncomfortable with it, and eventually they will usher them forward towards recovery. And even if it doesn't work, even if it doesn't turn up after the first 2 appointments, it's okay. We've already made contact. He knows it's not scary anymore. It can be done, and it can get there. It can really help eventually. So
how does someone get through to someone like you or the other priests, if there are other priests available?
Contact your local
number.
parish, contact any priest that you're comfortable with, and then we can either get you in contact with Father Joe or with one of the other counsellors that help.
Absolutely. My number is 413 245 501. Send a text message and I'll get back to you sometimes within a couple of days because my schedule is pretty heavy, but we do get back to them eventually. And if I don't get back to you in the next few days, send another message, hassle me, harass me, it's okay.
That's what I had to do to get him on here.
Yeah.
Comfortable seeking, not so much self-help, but there are some good resources that I would just like to highlight and take 1 second to highlight that might be helpful for someone that maybe isn't quite ready to message or come and sit face-to-face with a counsellor or with Abuna Joe or with anyone. But there is a book, another book, people we have to read, a book called Be Healed by an author named Bob Schultz.
We don't have time to read. The homilies are too long.
Yeah, no, this is a fantastic point taken. My next Sunday night homily is going to be for 25 minutes because you said that. No. But for those that don't know how to read, like esteemed real estate agents from Ray White in Bankstown. There's the same author of that book, Bob Schultz, has a podcast called Restore the Glory, available on Spotify. Fantastic podcast. All things are in this, not just in this area of addiction, but just healing in general, experiencing the transforming healing of God's power. So Jake Kim, Bob Schultz, 2 Catholic therapists that approach all things from a counselling perspective, but inspired by the Holy Spirit, I truly believe, and have a fantastic podcast.
Back to Jesus.
Yeah, always back to Jesus.
The higher power is Christ.
Jesus, 100%.
All right, before we wrap up, Father, if you could say one thing to anyone battling with addiction, what would it be?
We love you. We're proud of you. Please seek help. And on that point, and people don't know this, but we've actually got a Catholic saint who died as an opium addict. An opium addict, yeah. He was I'll just read it out very quickly.
Is it Japanese?
No, Chinese. So Saint Mark Jai Jiang, whatever his name is, I can't even read the surname, was a Chinese lay Catholic and doctor. He was martyred during the Boxer Rebellion and had an opium addiction. He was canonized in 2000 by Pope John Paul II. And it says about the way the church looks at this, to me anyway, that they are loved, that they are children, they are brothers and sisters, and we need to love them through the process of recovery. Yeah, that we don't judge them as someone who is bad, but somebody who's got an illness or something, who is shackled by his addiction. It's a shackle. It's actually very hard to come off. Yeah, so we love them, and we will do anything to help them. Yeah.
Father Joseph Maatouk, thank you very much.
You're welcome
for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Father Charbel, it is always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
I'm waiting for the time you come in and have that hair transplant on.
Yalla, very soon.
By the way,
a few more sponsors and we might get
before that, I know he told you don't send me the photos. Alright, I'm not going to mention who you are, but he told me I will not throw you under the bus, I promise you.
As soon as I end up on air, I'm going to know who sent them.
But that's fine, it's too late. I won't tell him beforehand. If you find, what's he going to do? He's a priest.
Oh, he can do some damage. I hang out with him.
You punched in the back of the head again. That's it.
Thank you to all the listeners once again. Jessy, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Everyone behind the scenes and once again, a massive thank you to our sponsors. I'm going to go through them again. Charred chicken that tastes so good, makes you want to slap your mama. A destination for Sydney's juiciest chicken. Head down to one of their 2 locations, either in Eastern Creek or St. Clair. Sarah Chidiac Beauty. For all your laser hair removal and makeup needs, contact Sarah on 0410 618 594. And don't forget to follow them on Instagram at Sarah Chidiac Beauty. ECA Electric. For all your electrical needs, contact Elias on 0498 760 009 for a free quote. And MCA Air Solutions. For all your air conditioning needs and solutions, contact Mario Curry on 0410 745 252 for a free quote. And
we
don't
missed
forget,
you tonight, Mario.
he never wanted to play the flute on air.
Next time.
Don't forget, mention Maronite Down Under, and if Mario doesn't sort you out, or Elias, I'll sort them out. And finally, once again, the Christian Mission, great supporter of our podcast. Don't forget to use the code word MDU10 on www.thechristianmission.com.au, and all the proceeds will come to the Voice of Charity. So thank you once again, everyone behind the scenes. Father,
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Paulie.
much, Paul.
Thank
Good
you.
on you.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you both.
Thank you, Father.
and God bless you all out there. Have a good night.
Israel.